August 15th, 1944. Supreme Headquarters Allied Expeditionary Force. General Dwight D. Eisenhower is staring at the map of France. The room is silent, but the tension is loud enough to deafen you. His eyes are fixed on a single blue arrow representing the U.S. Third Army. The arrow isn't where it's supposed to be. It's stretching out, way out. It is shot across the paper like an uncontrolled wildfire, leaving the rest of the Allied forces in the dust. To a civilian, it looks like progress. To a military commander, it looks like suicide. General Omar Bradley, standing next to Eisenhower, points to the empty space on either side of that arrow. "He's naked, Ike," Bradley says. "Both flanks are completely exposed. If the Germans counterattack now, they cut him off." Eisenhower traces the line. He sees the danger. It's a classic military blunder. You never advance deeper than your support lines. You never leave your sides unprotected. It's an invitation for encirclement. It is a death sentence. Eisenhower shakes his head, his face pale. He mutters the words that would haunt the command staff for the next 48 hours. He's walking into a trap. But 100 miles away, in a dusty Jeep tearing down a French country road, General George S. Patton isn't looking at a map. He's looking at the horizon. And he doesn't care about traps. He only cares about one thing: speed. Welcome to World War II. Survival. This is the story of the most dangerous gamble of the Western Front. When Patton ignored orders, ignored physics, and ignored the entire German army to win a race he wasn't supposed to run. To understand why Eisenhower was terrified, you have to understand the rules of war. In 1944, the rule book was simple. You advance in a broad front. You move your army like a solid wall. Infantry, armor, and artillery move together. You secure every town, every crossroad, and crucially, you secure your flanks. Your flanks are your sides. If you move too fast, your army becomes a long, thin snake. All the enemy has to do is step on the snake's neck, attack the side of your supply line, and the head dead. That is Doctrine 101. But George S. Patton didn't read the rule book. He wrote his own. After the breakout from Normandy and Operation Cobra, the German lines were in disarray. The door was open. Most generals would have advanced cautiously, checking every bush for an ambush. Patton kicked the door down. He activated the Third Army and gave a simple order to his corps commanders. "Forget the flanks. The enemy is behind us. We are going to the Seine." The Seine River. Paris. It was the finish line, and it was miles away. His staff was horrified. "General," an aide asked, "what about our supply lines? What about the Germans on our right?" Patton famously replied, "Let the enemy worry about their flanks. I'll worry about mine." He believed in a concept called speed as protection. If you move fast enough, the enemy can't set a trap because by the time they trigger it, you're already gone. But back at headquarters, Eisenhower didn't see speed. He saw a disaster waiting to happen. On the German side, the reaction was exactly what Eisenhower feared, but for a different reason. Field Marshal Günther von Kluge, commanding the German forces in the West, was looking at his own maps, but his maps were blank. Reports were coming in from panicked German units. "American tanks in Le Mans." "No, they are in Chartres." "Impossible, they were in Alençon this morning." The Third Army was moving so fast, 40, sometimes 50 miles a day, that German intelligence couldn't track them. Patton had ordered his radio silence to be broken only for urgent combat orders. He was literally ghosting the Wehrmacht, but the danger was real. As Patton drove east toward Paris, he left a corridor of open territory behind him, 60 miles long. To the north, the German 7th Army was battered but still dangerous. To the south, scattered panzer groups were regrouping. All it would take was one coordinated German strike at the base of Patton's advance, and 200,000 American soldiers would be cut off from fuel and ammo. They would be trapped deep in enemy territory. On August 17th, Eisenhower couldn't take it anymore. The risk was too high. He picked up the phone. He called General Bradley. "Brad, he's overextended. If Kluge attacks his flank now, we lose the Third Army. Tell George to halt. Tell him to secure his lines." And Bradley relayed the message. The order was clear. Slow down. Secure the flank. Don't be reckless. Patton received the message. He read it. And then he did something that defines his legacy. He ignored it. Well, he didn't ignore it. He interpreted it. Patton knew that halting meant giving the Germans time to dig in. He knew that the only reason he was winning was momentum. He turned to his operations officer. If we stop to secure our flanks, we lose the war. We are not stopping. We are going to protect our flanks with air power. Patton called in the 19th Tactical Air Command. He told the pilots, I need you to cover my right side. If you see anything that looks like a German tank, blow it up. I don't care if it's a mile away or 10 miles away. You are my flank security. It was revolutionary. Instead of using soldiers to protect his sides, he used airplanes. He ordered his tanks to keep rolling. Drivers were falling asleep at the wheel. Commanders were hallucinating from exhaustion. The tracks on the Sherman tanks were wearing thin, but they kept moving. At one point, Patton's advance was so rapid that his own supply trucks couldn't find the front line. A supply convoy drove straight into a German-held town because the map said it was Allied territory. It wasn't. Patton was just somewhere else. By August 19th, the trap that Eisenhower feared was ready to snap shut. German General Model had scraped together a force. They saw the long exposed flank of the Third Army. They prepared to strike. They prepared to cut the Americans in half. But then, something strange happened. The Germans moved to attack the flank. But when they got to where the Americans were supposed to be, the Americans are gone. Patton was moving faster than the Germans could plan. Every time the Wehrmacht set up a counterattack to hit Patton's side, Patton's spearhead was already 20 miles further east. He was outrunning his own vulnerability. Eisenhower watched the map at Schaeff, waiting for the disaster reports, waiting for the news that the Third Army was encircled. Instead, on August 20th, a different message arrived. The message didn't say we are surrounded. It didn't say we need help. It read, Dear Ike, have reached the Seine. I have pissed in the river this morning, waiting for further orders. Eisenhower stared at the paper. The room went silent. The Seine River. The Allied plan called for reaching the Seine by September. It was August. Patton wasn't just early, he was weeks early. He had crossed the most dangerous terrain in France, ignored his flanks, defied orders to halt, and arrived at the doorstep of Paris before the Germans could even figure out which road he was on. Good God, Eisenhower whispered. He made it. The trap that Eisenhower feared never materialized. Not because the danger wasn't real, the danger was extreme, but because Patton understood the psychology of the enemy better than his own bosses did. He knew that a terrified, confused enemy cannot set a trap. By rushing for the Seine, Patton forced the Germans into a chaotic retreat. Instead of attacking his flanks, they were running for their lives to get across the river before he cut them off. He had turned the table. He wasn't the one walking into a trap. He was the one closing the door. However, this victory came with a different kind of cost. By ignoring the flanks and racing ahead, Patton had stretched the Allied supply lines to the breaking point. The famous Red Ball Express, the truck convoys bringing fuel, couldn't keep up. Eisenhower was right about the logistics. Patton had run until his tanks were literally running on fumes. But the strategic victory was undeniable. The liberation of France, which was expected to take months of grinding warfare, was accomplished in weeks. Years later, military historians would analyze this week in August. They would look at the maps, they would measure the distances, and they would all agree on one thing. By traditional military standards, Eisenhower was right. Patton was walking into a trap. Any other general with any other army would have been destroyed. But Patton didn't command a normal army, and he didn't fight a normal war. General Bradley later admitted, George took risks that would have made me prematurely gray, but he got away with it. Eisenhower, the man who said he's walking into a trap, eventually sent a different message to Patton. A message of congratulations. He realized that while he was playing chess, Patton was playing poker, and he was all in. The race to the Seine remains one of the greatest examples of calculated risk in military history. It taught the world that sometimes the safest place to be is moving forward at full speed. Patton proved that a trap is only a trap if you stay in it long enough for the jaws to close. But what do you think? Was Patton a genius for ignoring the flanks? Or was he just lucky that the Germans were too broken to punish him? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story of high-speed warfare, make sure to hit that subscribe button for World War II Survival. We'll see you in the next war room.